first to take that camera down, I guess what I must do is just take the camera down, get my coffee, and then adjust the settings afterwards. Four until 5 until 6. I can't believe that I sat down here at 2:12. Cannot believe it. Let me have a look. Hey Deep T, how you doing? Testing audio. Let's see. Do we have a sync? Do we have a sync? Is it out of sync? Terribly out of sync. Okay. It's very much out of sync, but I'm glad that you're doing well, Deep T. I'm gonna go and get some coffee, and it's not clear. I mean, the audio is clear, but if you watch, my lips are moving after the sound comes through. So I'm gonna make some coffee, and then I'll come and edit this again. I've spent the last 2 hours troubleshooting this, and I'm not coming right. It's so frustrating. It drives me insane. And I can't go live on Twitter. And the restream, what do you call those troubleshooters? What do you call them? My brain is going fucking blank. What's it called? Support team. The restream support team. I don't know what's going on. Tell me to do this and do that, and it's not even applicable to myself. I must now go and set up Twitter to stream from a different studio. adjust any settings, and according to her viewers, she was in sync the whole time. That's the weirdest thing. You know, my desync just gets worse the more I'm online. A little lower. Okay. Yeah, it's that lag between the audio and video just. You look like Michael Jackson. Thanks. I assume that's meant to be a compliment. Okay, the sync is relatively okay now. Let me have a look. If I speak to the microphone, does my lip sync up with the video? Yes. Yes, it does. Awesome. Can close that RSS feed. Let's have a look at Twitter and see if anything has changed. Nope, nothing has changed. It's so weird. Anyway, no Twitter. Little Sky Rose, welcome. Yeah, I was testing my audio on YouTube, on the YouTube feed, so I didn't see your messages till now. Always good to start the day with some coffee. Yum, yes, although the day's been running for quite some time now. Looks good to you? Yeah, I see it's in sync now. Deep T says, I'm planning to start my preparations for a competitive exam tomorrow. Am I in the right track? I will help you out with that question in a sec. Before I start with the tarot readings, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the nature of the tarot while I drank my coffee. And lag is still there, you say? Well, on my end I'm not seeing it. If it's there, it's coming on and off, back and forth. It's not it can't make up its mind. 1 minute it's in sync, next minute it's not in sync. Anyway, So people often ask me, how does tarot reading work? How does divination work in that way? How can the cards like tell me something about someone else that I wouldn't otherwise know? So the cards are based on astrological principles. So let's go back to that as the root. Let's say we've got these zodiac signs, these constellations that have been shining down on our planet for millennia upon millennia. And they have been affecting the psychology of mankind just by being there. It's like every time you go outside, they are there. At night you can see them. So they are, whether you understand them or not, or assign meaning to them or not, they are there, and they're having an impact on your life. They also have their own gravity. They radiate light, and they have gravitational fields, and all of that interacts with everything. Okay, the amount that it affects this planet is so minuscule, but it is affecting the planet. More than that, you've got bigger, or not bigger, but closer astrological bodies like the moon and the sun, which are close enough that they in fact affect our planet drastically. Like the moon decides the currents and the tides of the ocean. We as human beings are like 65% water, so you can imagine how the moon affects us, our emotional currents, the same way it affects the ocean's currents. So Deep T says, I'm not a real streamer if I haven't had technical difficulties at some point. Yeah, I've heard that said before. Technical difficulties are an everyday thing. Every single time that you go live, it's new technical difficulties. But as I was saying, so these cards are based on these astrological principles, and your subconscious mind does know where every card is in the deck, especially when you've used it regularly. I often find that depending on how much I shuffle the deck, or where I put my hands when I'm shuffling, I almost have this idea of what cards I'm going to see. I don't know where they're going to turn up in the spread, but like if I've just done a 10 card reading and then I put all of those back in a specific way and then I shuffle, depending on how many times I shuffle, I still have some kind of idea of where those cards have ended up in the deck. So when I separate the deck, I can say, okay, I know that I'm going to find the 10 of Cups in this section somewhere. I know that I'm going to find the art card somewhere in this section of the deck. So the cards themselves are not so important when it comes to reading for someone. Which card shows up is less important. I'm connecting to the astrological principle. They've been here for so long that they are like their own consciousness. So when I draw the card, I'm listening to what they have to say about how they've been affecting your life, and what they know about your life. They're communicating it to me through the card. So it's less about which card shows up in the spread and more about what the divine consciousness of the stars and the universe are saying through that particular card that's shown up. Hope that gives some context to how reading works. I know everyone has their own paradigm of how the cards work. This is how I've come to understand it. Numerology is the same. Like I can look at the date and time and I can give someone a reading based on that. But that's pretty generalized because all of us are living on the same day. We're all on the planet at the same time. So whatever the date is, it applies to whatever aspect of the date's numerology is affecting me is also affecting you, because we're both living on the planet at the same time. It's the same date for us, you know? I'm glad that it gives you some understanding about how all this divination works. So We've got Jasmine on Facebook who's joined the chat. Welcome, Jasmine. Want to know if I will succeed in my MASRE degree, master's degree. So we've got a reading ahead of you for Deep Tea on YouTube, and it was, am I on the right track as I start and prepare for this competitive exam tomorrow? Yeah, so I just wanted to chat a little bit about the nature of the tarot and divination while I smoke this cigarette and sip on my coffee. And so I've given a little bit of context to the tarot. What else what other tidbits of magical info can I give you guys? So, one of my favorite forms of spellcasting is to, like, when it comes to master's degree studying and asking me if you're on the right track with your competitive exams. Now that kind of thing, you get to decide those things. You get to decide how well you're going to do. You get to decide if you're going to succeed with your master's degree, and you can cast spells to make that real for yourself. And the best kind of spell to work when it comes to information and learning is to affect yourself, rather than to try and change the outer universe to make sure that it happens the way you desire, rather changing yourself. So then let me give you an example. Let's say I've got a math exam, right? And I want to make sure that I get a very specific percentage, say 93% in this math exam. So then I will create a sigil, which is a little symbol. It's a picture. It can be anything, a word, a letter. All of these things are thought forms. It's a thought that's given form. So then that sigil, I'll create it out of a phrase, and that phrase will be something like, I am retaining all the information that I am studying. Then I will take those letters and form them into a symbol, and I'll focus on that symbol. I'll meditate, and I'll visualize that symbol, and I'll focus on it. And then I will go ahead and study, and I will just trust that I've given my subconscious mind an instruction telling it to retain all the information I'm studying now in order to give me 93% in my exam. And I have very seldomly found this method to be unsuccessful. This method has worked. I mean, to try and program your subconscious to do something like, let me see. Let's say that I've got a drum of water, and I want that drum of water to stay full, and I don't ever want to have to fill that drum of water. Then to try and create a sigil to reprogram myself isn't going to affect that water drum. Trying to affect the outer universe is a little bit more tricky than affecting your inner universe. We do have electromagnetic fields as humans. It radiates from us, and our brains, it creates electricity. It runs off of electricity. And these fields of electricity and magnetism can be read with scientific instruments. So I definitely believe it's possible that we can learn to use these energetic fields that exist in us to affect the universe around us. Maybe I can't cause the water drum to stay full even when I'm emptying it, but I might be able to move water a little bit with those currents, with those electromagnetic currents. If the water had something magnetic in it, I might be able to affect those magnetic particles with my magnetic fields. A little bit of food for thought. That's something that I haven't quite mastered, particularly with water and earth, but I have tried some experiments with fire, with trying to cause the fire to respond to what I tell it to respond to, and I've seen small results in that. Also, after going into an ecstatic trance state, I have been able to, well, some might call it coincidence, but when you are able to do it more than 3 times consecutively, then it's not a coincidence anymore. So I've managed to cause the wind to change direction coincidentally after entering into an ecstatic trance state, and I need to get that right one more time before I can say it's not a coincidence. And then let me expand a little bit on trance states. So when it comes to magic, like when you're focusing on that sigil and you're trying to reprogram your consciousness, your subconsciousness, to retain all the information that you're studying and not forget any of it, you are entering into a meditative trance state. When you sit and you meditate and you focus on that sigil and you focus on nothing but that sigil, you're entering into a meditative trance state. If you are drumming for hours and hours and hours, you will enter into an ecstatic trance state. Dancing will do the same thing. So whenever you're working magic, shifting yourself into these heightened states of awareness is part of the process. It's part of applying magic to accomplish your will. So yeah, if you guys are interested in getting into magic and you want to give something a try, I'd recommend doing some research on sigil creation and trance states. You know, people try and they put a lot of emphasis on these trance states, make it out to seem like it's something so difficult to attain. But you know, when you're doing dishes and you like zone out, that's a trance state. Not sure what you could use that for when it comes to magic, but it is a trance state. Musicians, when they're playing music and they really get into the vibe, that's a trance state. When you are sick and you get a fever, that's an altered state of awareness. That's a trance state. Mind-altering substances like acid and psychedelic mushrooms and cannabis, these things also create different types of trance states, and they can be used when working magic. Although using addictive substances is not necessarily recommended, because it becomes like a crutch, a dependency, and then you become dependent on an easy way to reach a trance state, and then you almost use your magic as justification for addiction. It's much healthier and a lot more of a powerful practice to focus on developing to develop the ability to shift your consciousness into trance states through things like dance and meditation, and drumming, and not relying on substances to do the shift for you. I see the chat's getting impatient. So, Jasmine, as I already said, you're getting your reading. Deep Tea is ahead of you. And we've got KK, who has joined the chat, and Mimi Blue on Twitter, who is also asking for a reading. So guys, the way that it works is that I answer the questions in the order that I see them in the chat. So if you have a question in mind, or if you'd like a general reading, just put that down, and I will get to it in the order that I see it. Like, I don't base my readings off of who comes into the chat first, because that gets too confusing and I end up skipping people. But when I see questions in the chat, then I answer them in the order that they appear in the chat. Also, to let you guys know, I'm streaming across 3 platforms. I'm on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So yeah, that's the reason I don't have a queue on Twitch, just to let you guys know, because a queue on Twitch wouldn't work since you guys would be in that queue, and then I'd still have requests on YouTube and Facebook coming through. Anyway, it's probably, I'm about ready to do Deep T's reading, which was, am I on the right track with my preparations for a competitive exam tomorrow? Little Skyro says, I'm watching both the Twitch and YouTube streams right now. Thanks for your support. Is Deep T on the right track with this competitive exam? Past, present, and future intervals. So your first card is a Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Wands, it's reversed. It talks about having a desire for something, and then using the fact of that desire as like fuel to make it real. An example, or to expand on that a bit more, say I want a car, so then because I want a car, I make a way to make it happen. You know, that I let that desire for the car give me the drive and the passion to actually make it real for myself. Now this card is reversed, which indicates that when you're communicating about your desire and your intentions that you're setting towards making that desire real, you're communicating it with like a shock value, and it's almost like intimidating or scaring people. It's like intimidating them and frightening them a little bit. You're like wielding fear. So this is in the position of the past. It's, I don't know. In relation to your question, this card is probably talking about what you're hoping to accomplish by getting into this competitive exam organization. I've never heard of competitive exams before, but this card is talking about how you hoping to accomplish something by being involved in these competitive exams, and you're using that desire for that outcome to give you the motivation that you need to actually go through with this competitive exam. But in your home space and in your environment, you're communicating that with shock value. You're communicating it a little bit too aggressively. Like let's say you go into your room to study, and then someone comes and they need something from you, and then you're saying things like, but I have this outcome that's in my mind, and if I don't do this, it's not going to become real for me. Is that what you want? Is that you keep coming here to interrupt me? Kind of like just speaking too aggressively about your desire and wielding like a shock value and a fear value. So this is in the position of the past. It's something that you have been doing. It's something that's coming to a close now as we move into the present. In the present, we have a Queen of Cups. So again, it's a queen, and again it's reversed. So the Queen, it talks about using your desire as fuel to reach the outcome. Cups talks about emotion. So this card is telling me that in the present, your desire, the outcome that you're looking to attain, it brings with it certain emotions. It brings certain difficult emotions, some excitement and some frustration, like excitement for the outcome and lust for the result, and then simultaneously like frustration that it's not happening, and like a fear of failure that it's not going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. It almost makes you feel like you don't want to actually sit down and study. You don't want to actually get on with the preparations for the exam, while simultaneously knowing that you need to do that if you hope to get to your outcome. The card reversed, it's implying that what you're seeing there, these feelings of excitement that then bring about this fear of failure, are reflections of your past. It's reflections of how you've handled similar undertakings in the past. You have set intentions to accomplish something, and you've had this excitement to have it, and then with that excitement comes this fear of failure, which almost is like a blockage. So this card just wants you to be aware that the feelings, the fear of failure and the feelings that you're going through now, most of them are a result of your experience in past situations, in similar situations in the past, and that it's important that you take whatever those feelings are and channel them, direct them into your outcome rather than respond to them. So when the fear comes up and it says something like it's too big, the outcome you're looking for is too big, you might as well watch series rather than focus on your studies. When you feel something like that, recognizing that that's old patterns, choosing instead not to respond to the emotion and letting the emotion be a fuel and be like, no, I'm going to push through, I'm going to do what I need to do, even though I'm feeling disheartened and discouraged. I'm going to stick to the plan, because taking steps into the plan is what brings me to my outcome. Your future interval is number 13 of the trumps, and it's death. It's also reversed. So this card is saying that you're going to need to let go of something in your present. There's something about your habits and your lifestyle, the way that you interact with your environment, that's not it's not beneficial to the outcome you're looking to manifest with this competitive exam thing that you're busy with. It wants you to let go of something. Yes, there's a habit or a lifestyle routine that you've been doing most of your life, or in this year at least, something in this year, a habit that you've developed. This card wants you to get rid of it, even if it's going to be painful to let go of it, even if it's going to come with, like, if it's an addictive habit, even if it comes with withdrawal symptoms and difficulty and struggle and pain. This card is telling you you're going to have to get rid of it if you really want to see the outcome that you're looking for. So yeah, maybe you want to succeed in the competitive exam, maybe you want to get good marks and pass and win the competition, but I feel like that's just one stepping stone, that's one means to an end. Your end goal is a little bit bigger. So you can win the competition, but there's something that you're going to have to let go of, a habit and a lifestyle that you have had this year, and up until this point, that you're going to have to let go of if you really want to see that ultimate outcome become real for you. Selah. Hopefully that resonates with you. Hopefully you now have some idea of what needs to happen in order to see the outcome you're hoping for. Okay, so next in line is Jasmine on Facebook, and Jasmine wants to know if she will succeed with her master's degree. And then after Jasmine we have KK on Facebook, who wants to know if Avi wants her to return to the company. Then we have John Milson on YouTube, welcome, wants to know who is his true love, Johnny Milson. And then after Johnny Milson we have Mimi Blue on Twitch, who says, so me and my friend, who is a Virgo, we haven't talked in a while and I wanted to know why he doesn't talk to me. Should I reach out or wait for him? Johnny O on Twitch, how to join reading. You just simply ask a question and I answer it in the order that it appears in the chat on my end. Then we have Viv Giles, who has joined us on Facebook. Liked and shared. I'm new. Could you please give me any insight into where my relationship is going? Of course, we will get to you in the order that you appear in the chat. Deepti says the reading so much resonates. Thank you so much. You're most welcome, Deepti. Thank you for joining us. Next up we have Jasmine, who wants to know about her success in her master's degree. Cool. How can Jasmine ensure her success with her master's degree? Past, present, and future intervals. Okay, so Jasmine, your past interval is the Knight of Discs, and it's reversed. The Knight of Discs talks about the end. It's a rebirth. It's a death and a rebirth of physical realities. So that's usually talking about moving, like moving home, moving from one house to another, or moving country, moving your physical space. It can also be talking about the end of a career and the start of a new one, or the end of like you're currently studying a master's degree, you might have been studying something before that. Basically, this card just talks about your physical security coming to an end, and then a new source of physical security being born as a result of the old falling away. This card in the position of the past tells me it's something that you have been through. I'm not sure if this was you moving spaces, or if this was you moving schools, or if it was you switching jobs, but it was something along these lines, possibly all three. And it was difficult. It was difficult for you to keep up with your studies while going through this death and rebirth of your physical environment and the way you interacted with your physical environment. It was a challenge, and it put you back a little bit. It put you a few steps back. But it's also what led you into the present, because as the old falls away, new things are born. In the present, we have number 1 of the trumps, and it's the Magus, also reversed. So the Magus talks about miscommunication. Well, when he's reversed, when he's the right way around, he talks about communication. Reverse talks about miscommunication and falsehoods, deception. So in this card, the Magus is balancing. He's balancing on the tip of a board, and he's juggling with all these different forms of communication. In our reality, our different forms of communication are our speech, our body language, computers, cell phones, the internet. All of these things are our forms of communication. A pen, letters, forms of communication. So this card is telling me that in your present, there is some miscommunication going on. Whether that is you miscommunicating about how much you've been studying or how well you've been doing in your classes, or miscommunicating about what happened here with this rebirth in your physical environment. You moved, or you changed jobs, or you changed schools or something, and then you're communicating that to people around you. There's an order of priority, when something like this, when a life-changing thing happens, there's an order of priority about who we need to communicate to, and how much we need to communicate, and when to communicate. So this card is just saying that in your present, you're not fulfilling those priorities in the correct order. The card wants to encourage you to communicate with your lecturers, to communicate what you have been going through, what you are currently still going through, and how this experience put you back a little bit in your studies. To communicate with your sponsor, unless you are your own sponsor. To communicate with family about this experience and how it's impacted your schooling. The card is all about communication, and it's saying that there is miscommunication going on, and it wants to encourage you to correct the order of priorities about who needs to be communicated with and how much they need to know. Your future interval here is number 8 of the trumps, and it is called adjustment. So this card, in this card we've got all kinds of things. We've got balls and scales and all these symbols of balance in this card. And it's number 8, and as we know, 8 is like 2 zeros, and they're pretty much equal, symmetrical, mirror image of itself. So this card, it's implying that you need to go through a shift, or you are going through a shift in the present. And that shift is going to bring you into balance. Once you have balance, you will get the results that you're looking for with your master's degree. You'll find the success that you're hoping for. This miscommunication needs to shift, and it needs to be adjusted. It needs to turn the right way around, and the priority of communication needs to come into balance. This card doesn't only talk about communication, balancing communication, it also talks about lifestyle changes, changes in routine, adjustments to routine and lifestyle that have to be made, because until those shifts take place, until those changes are made, there isn't the balance that's necessary for the outcome, for the future that you're hoping for. So this card is encouraging you now in the present, while you're correcting the communication and prioritizing your communication, at the same time to have a look at your lifestyle and your habits and your there was another word that I was going to use. Lifestyle, habits. Yeah, let's just use those two. To have a look at your lifestyle and your habits and see what is not beneficial to the outcome you're hoping for, which is naturally success and success in your master's degree. And then make some shifts and adjustments to those lifestyle habits, so that there is more of a balance in your study time and your work time, just so that it all works together to give you the outcome you're looking for. Sela, I hope that helps you. I hope it gives you some hope and some direction on how to move forward to ensure that you find the success you're looking for. Just going to block the scammer quickly before I go on to the next reading. After Jasmine, we had KK on Facebook. And KK wants to know if AV wants her to. I wonder, is AV your employer, your previous employer? A partner maybe? A colleague? I wonder why you left the company in the first place. None of that's important to me as the diviner, though. The stars have been watching you. The stars know what's going on. And the stars will communicate through the cards. But I'm going to adjust your question a little bit, KK, and I'm going to ask the cards, how does AV feel about your absence from the company? Past, present, and future. So, your first card, the past interval, is number, is that 16? Yeah, number 16 of the trumps. It's the Tower. It's reversed. So that card is telling me that when you left the company, it was an injury to the company. That's how AV perceived it. When you left, it made her aware of her own limitations, or him. It made him aware of her own insecurities and her own shortcomings within the company, made her realize how much she actually depended on you when you were part of the company. Basically, when you left, it made her whole identity become unstable, as she realized how much of her identity was based on delusion, how much she believed about herself and her value that wasn't true. It made her aware of all of that, and her whole identity became unstable, and she became angry with herself. She became angry with you for making her aware of her own insecurities, and the whole tower is just collapsing. It's been a very difficult period for her since you left the company. However, this has also given her the opportunity to start building her identity on things that she knows to be true about herself, without having to rely on someone else's value in order to give herself worth. She doesn't have to rely. The experience has given her the opportunity to base her identity on her own value rather than on someone else's value. And it's what has led into the present, and the present interval is the Knight of Swords. So in the present, Avi is having a look at her own thought processing, realizing that the way that she has processed things that happen in her environment has typically been quite unhealthy. Like when she sees something happen, she very quick to come to a judgment that's not necessarily accurate, or when something goes wrong, to immediately start blaming people for it, and just acknowledging that has not been very beneficial to her own desires and her own outcome. She's also taking a moment to examine her purpose, or what she understood her purpose to be, and realizing that her true purpose is to follow her heart's desire, and whatever else, if it's like to follow fleshly desires, like wanting a fancy house, or wanting a large salary, or wanting social recognition, those things are not purpose. They're not strong enough motivators to actually get us through a day's work. What really motivates us to get on with our tasks and to push forward and grow financially is when we're actually doing something that's aligned with what our heart really wants from life. That's what purpose is, and that's true purpose. So she's having a look at what she perceived her purpose to be, and why she's doing what she's doing, and why she's part of this company, and she's letting all of those things die, those unhealthy thought processes and the false purposes. She's letting all of that fall away, and trying to recognize what is true purpose for her, and trying to recognize what is a better way to process things in her thoughts when she sees them happening in her environment. Also learning that fears and shames and resentments are not intuition. Like when you go into a certain environment, and then suddenly you feel like fear of something, and then you decide, no, I shouldn't be here because of this fear, and you trust that fear as if it was intuition. That's also, it's not beneficial to purpose. It doesn't bring you closer to the outcome that you're trying to create for yourself. Responding to fears and shames and resentments doesn't bring us closer to our objectives. Acting in alignment with purpose, taking actions towards our heart's desire, regardless of what we're feeling. And then when we do feel things, to listen to what our purpose has to say, like examining purpose and saying, okay, I'm feeling this fear. Why am I feeling this fear? What is it rooted in? Is it a trigger from something I've experienced in the past? Listening to that and following those thought processes brings us closer to intuition. And she's observing all of those things and allowing these new realizations to manifest as she lets go of all the unhealthy ways of handling the environment. Future interval. A future interval here is the Four of Discs, and the Four of Discs, it talks about exercising authority in your physical environment. So to expand on that, it's like setting structure and routine, and and readjusting lifestyle to fit with the financial and physical outcome that we're hoping to attain. So it's often talking about finances when you see the discs, but it also talks about like your physical body, the amount of strength that you want to develop, how much flexibility you want to have. Discs is all about the physical world. So that's your body, that's your home, that's your work, that's your finances and your technology and all of your physical resources. And this is about, the 4 of discs is about taking your authority and applying it to your physical environment in order to see the outcome, the physical outcome that you want, whether that's fitness or wealth or security. It's when you're setting routine and structure, that basically putting down your authority into your physical environment to make sure that it is and functions the way that you desire it to function. So this card, it's in the position of the future, and it's saying that that's something that's opening for Avi. It's something that's opening for the company because of this experience of you leaving the company and causing this tower collapse and then this rebirth of purpose. But it's not something that's just gonna happen. It's something that has to be claimed. It's like the future doesn't happen to you. It's something that you grab hold of and manifest into your present. So this card is actually saying to both you and Avi and the whole company right now that in the present, while this rebirth of purpose is happening, and while this rebirth of purpose is happening as a result of the identity falling apart, structure and authority needs to be applied into the routine and the schedule of daily life for each of you individually and for the company itself. Once that structure is in place, then every day certain productive activities happen, and that brings the company and the individuals all closer to the end goal that everyone has in mind. Sila. So I feel like that card, it leaves it open for you to decide whether you want to go back. When you left the company, Avi realized how much of an asset you were to the company, but it's the cards are not necessarily saying that she is looking for ways to bring you back. If you want to go back to the company, you should reach out to her and express that to her. Yeah. Thank you so much. Please like and share and follow. If you're by the means, you can also send me a donation of your choosing. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll see you again. Yeah. Before I go on to the next reading, I just want to make sure that my chat is working properly, because every now and then the network goes down a little bit and then the chat stops working. Yeah, chat is a little bit frozen, but that's all good. Next question. Next question is for Johnny Milson. Johnny Milson wants to know who is his true mate. Welcome to the chat, Murdy. It's been a while. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Been a little bit under the weather with some burnout and a bit of a head cold. Not 100% just yet, but definitely better than yesterday. Each day I've been feeling better than the last day, so yeah, I'm getting there. How are you doing, Murdy? Yeah, Johnny Wilson, you're up next. Salam Rajni, welcome to the chat. Rajni on Facebook. Murdy says he's been studying at uni for the summer semester. So when do you write your last exam for the year? Johnny, I'm trying to think of a way to rephrase your question about who your true love is, because the tarot is not going to give you a name. It's not going to give you a specific name or a face that you can go and search on social media for. How can Johnny Milson find and experience true love? Okay, so your past interval here is the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords talks about communication. It's a communication of thoughts, a communication of purpose. Yeah, and it's reversed, which talks about miscommunication. So this is in the position of the past. It's talking to me about how you've had some kind of idea of what your purpose is or should be, and you have certain thoughts that are going through your mind all the time, particularly when you meet someone that you hope will be your true love. And so the card is saying that you have miscommunicated what those thoughts are. Like when somebody that you crush on has asked you what you're thinking, then you've been dishonest about what you're actually thinking. When people have asked you, what are you doing with your life? What are you manifesting? What's your dream? You have given them little bits less than what is accurate. And this has not been in your interest. It has not been beneficial to finding true love. But that's in the past. It's something that's coming to a close. It's also what has brought you into the present. Okay. Your present interval is number 14 of the trumps, and it's called art. So it's also reversed, and this card talks to me about how in the present you're trying to really find your creativity. You're trying to use your creativity to create the vision of your future that you want for yourself, and that includes true love. The card is also telling me that you struggle to integrate other people. Like in your creative process is pretty much isolated to you. It doesn't really leave room for others. So the purpose that this card was talking about, that you miscommunicate about, the dream that you have, and the steps you're taking towards manifesting it, they don't leave room for others to coexist in that process or in that dream. And the card wants to encourage you to open that door, to allow others to co-create with you, to work with you in your creative process, to integrate your creative process with theirs and theirs with yours, so that the dream can be inclusive of your true love. Because as long as this dream is isolated to you and doesn't leave room for others, your true love can show up on your doorstep right now, but they're not going to be able to fit with your life. They're not going to be compatible with the dream that you have for yourself. So you need to work on your ability to work with others, and to integrate others into your dream, into your outcomes, and to be able to be flexible with your creative process. Like a good practice that a friend of mine suggested quite recently is, so we are also trying to break through these self-limitations where we're all creating in independent directions, and we want to bring all of our dreams together so that we can all exist together. And part of that practice, we mused that we will create a mural, and each of us will start our own creative process on that mural, and then we'll turn it around. And so you don't get to finish the piece that you started. You have to give it to someone else to finish, and then trust that they will bring it into what it needs to be. This being a good way to develop like co-creative frequencies in the space, to let go of the attachment to result. So you've got this idea of what you're creating for yourself and your future, and you're quite attached to that outcome. And that outcome, because of that attachment to the outcome, it doesn't leave room for anyone else to exist in the process of you getting there. That excludes true love. It doesn't really, you can have true love, but it excludes them from your outcome. And that in that relationship, when you have that relationship of true love, if you're still attached to your outcome, then when you can't reach the outcome without that person, it will cause resentful feelings to grow inside of you. So learning to co-create with others and to let go of the attachment to result is very much important in order to open yourself up to the manifestation of true love. Your future interval is number 9 of the trumps, and it's the Hermit. So this card, it wants to give you a little piece of information that will help you with what we discussed here in the art card, which was about opening up to co-creative frequencies. And the Hermit suggests that you take a moment to go into yourself and to fill your own cup. So have a look at yourself and examine past relationships and how you've behaved in those relationships. Look at the ways in which other people have made you upset. So when people have done things that have upset you or said things that have been hurtful, look at why those things were upsetting to you and why they were hurtful to you. Look at the root of it, because the root is something from your own past. It's not actually to do with them. It's a trigger. They've pressed on a wound from your childhood or from an old relationship, and it's not actually to do with them. So the card is saying, first of all, have a look at that, and then experience those emotions, like when looking back on past relationships, seeing where people have triggered you and looking at what the root of that is, then going back to that moment where that wound became a problem, where that trauma was inflicted on you, and then just remember what it felt like in that moment and experience those emotions. Don't suppress them or push them away. Just go into yourself and let it be. Go back into your memory a bit and just self-reflect on all of that stuff. Try and examine where you have been attached to your outcome and where you've ended up excluding friends or family from your process or your life because you felt like they were keeping you from reaching your goal. And then instead of incorporating them into the process, you ended up putting them out, not leaving room for them. And examine why that is. What that is that rooted in? What is that attachment rooted in? A fear of failure? Fear of not having the outcome that you are hoping for? A fear that you won't be able to attain it if you don't do it alone? The card just wants you to self-reflect, to go into like a period of hermitage in yourself and examine all of the past and how it is affecting your present, so that you can make the changes that are necessary to allow others into your process. Once you allow others into your process, then you open the door for true love to manifest. Until you can open the door and allow others into your process, then you are keeping true love out. People will come, your potential for love will come into your life, and you will have it for a short while, and then you will start to push it out because of your attachment to your result. Selah, pausing to contemplate the magnitude of what was revealed in this spread. I hope it encourages you and gives you some idea of what needs to be done and what kind of self-work you need to go through. Thank you for joining us today. If you felt like there was some value, that you received some value out of this spread, please like and share. I believe you might have done that already. Thank you if you have. You can also send me a donation of your choosing. Some physical support is invaluable. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Oh, a wild card. So I don't know who this is for. It's probably for everybody in the chat. But it's saying to me that some shifts need to happen in the way that you perceive your purpose, what you believe your purpose to be. It needs to be re-examined, and once the true purpose is identified, what you really are accomplishing in this world, why you came to Earth in the first place, once you identify that, then you need to make some shifts and let go of certain habits and adjust your lifestyle in a way that it becomes aligned with the objective, with your reason. Johnny Milson on YouTube says, thank you for reading. You're most welcome. Thank you for joining us. Okay, I'm gonna have a look and see who's next in the chat. We've got Mimi Blue. Mimi Blue up for a reading. So me and my friend who is a Virgo, we haven't talked in a while and I want to know why he doesn't talk to me. Should I reach out or wait for him? Okay. Just want to give a warm welcome to Isabel on Facebook, who's joined the chat. Welcome. And Delmaine, also on Facebook. So Isabel, the way it works is you come in and you give me a question, or you let me know you want a general reading, and then I answer the questions in the order that they appear in the chat. Yeah, Delmaine says, am I going to prosper in my job? Awesome, we will get to you. We've got quite a few requests lined up, so I'll get to you as soon as I can, guys. Mimi Blue. What has created this distance between Mimi Blue and her friend, her Virgo friend? Past, present, and future intervals. So your past interval, Mimi, is the 10 of Cups. So this is talking about completion, emotional completion, like receiving whatever it was that the relationship was for. Whatever you guys formed your relationship from, it served its purpose and it came to completion. And yeah, so you guys went into this relationship at a certain point in your emotional beings, and whatever you guys needed to get out of the relationship happened. It came to completion. The emotional purpose of the relationship was completed. And that's what has led us into the present, which is the Ace of Swords reversed. And this card is talking about miscommunication, or the lack of communication, particularly about the purpose of the relationship, as neither of you are understanding where this relationship is going, since you have already experienced the emotional completion and fulfillment that the relationship was formed for. In the interim, since that has come to completion, neither of you truly understands what the purpose of this relationship is and where it's going from here. So this card it's saying that neither of you wants to be the first one to reach out. And being the first one to reach out means that the one who's reaching out has to come in and give a suggestion as to where this relationship is going and what you guys are actually building together. What is the purpose of it? So yeah, you can reach out to him, but before you do, identify what the reason is, why you still want to hang on to this relationship and what you want to see grow out of it. And be honest about it. The card is reversed, so that's implying that there is the risk of deceit, a risk of excluding important information. Make sure that you prioritize what is important to communicate when you do reach out. Not excluding anything out of a fear of rejection. Rather just lay out everything on the table. Lay out your intuitive suggestions, lay out what you want to see grow out of the relationship and what you feel like the purpose of the relationship is. Also talk about your own purpose and what you're creating for yourself, and ask him about what he's creating for himself, and see if you guys can make your purposes compatible and you can help each other grow and reach your objectives. Because that could very well be the purpose. That could become the new purpose of the relationship. You guys working together to create the future that you guys want for each other individually and yourselves individually. Your future card is number 14 of the trumps, and it is called art, and this card is all about co-creation. So just like I was suggesting, to talk about what you want to create for yourself and asking him about it, that's leading into co-creation, or working together to make your individual dreams real. The card is reversed, which indicates that there might be some challenges and some struggles, that you might experience some resistance. Basically, the card is saying both of you are going to have to work on your teamwork. Both of you are good at working alone. As you go into this, making this relationship, giving it new purpose, you're both going to have to work on your teamwork. Your ability to work with others is going to need a little bit of attention, a little bit of patience with each other as you go through that. Yeah, so this card is saying that if you reach out to him and you put down you just lay it out straight and you don't hide anything that you're feeling or any of your intentions, then you guys can work together to make your individual dreams real. Like, you have this idea of what you want from your future, and he has this idea, and if you guys work on your teamwork and talk about these things, your relationship can become a pillar on which your dream rests. Both of you can rest your dream on the relationship as a pillar to support it, and you will support one another in that growth towards the outcome. Thank you so much. If you found some value in the spread, please follow my account, your Facebook page. Yeah, follow my page, like the video, share it. You can also send me a donation of your choosing if you're by the means. Thank you so much for being here and for giving me the opportunity to share some of the wisdom that I receive from the spirits and from the stars. Okay, so after Mimi, we had a request from Viv Gills, Vivian Gills on Facebook. Do you see me and my partner staying together, says Viv. Alright. How can Viv secure and improve her current relationship? Okay, so your past interval here is number 9 of the trumps, and it's the Hermit. It's reversed. So it's telling me that you guys in your relationship went into like a hermitage. You guys got isolated from one another. Even if you were staying in the same space, you guys kind of like walked past each other, looked past each other. And it was detrimental to the relationship, but it was something that was necessary for both of you to go through. You were both self-reflecting on your past and your past experiences and the things about the other one that trigger you. Trying to understand what it's rooted in and trying to understand how to transmute it and not make it the other person's responsibility. Both of you were going through this. It put some strain on the relationship, but it was something that was necessary for both of you to go through. Yeah, following the light of your own intuition, trying to identify where your triggers are rooted, so that you don't have to make it the other partner's responsibility. Very healthy, even if it put a bit of strain on the relationship. This is in the position of the past, so it's something that's coming to a close. It's something you've been through. It's what has brought us into the present. And in the present, we have the Princess of Discs. So the Princess of Discs talks about creating. It's using your creativity to bring about security, physical safety and financial security to yourselves and to the relationship. It's all about co-creation, so it implies that you guys are now trying to work together, trying to come up with creative solutions to financial issues if they have been, to physical security, like maybe the place that you're currently staying in doesn't feel safe, or you feel like the rent is a bit unnecessary, or whatever the case might be. You guys, because of this reflective period, you're now coming together to find solutions to the issues in your physical environment. And this is great. The relationship itself is part of the discs, like this card could also be talking about a sex life, and trying to express to the other partner what you guys are comfortable with in the bedroom and what you're not comfortable with in the bedroom. And all of this communication and working together is beneficial and helps secure the relationship. This card is an encouraging card. It's saying that what you guys are doing right now is beneficial to the long-standing outcome of this relationship you're in, and to keep it up. You came here asking if the relationship will endure, but in the present you guys are doing things to make sure that the relationship endures. Your future interval is number 13 of the trumps, Death, reversed. So this card, when I take it in consideration with the other cards, it is talking about having to either move physical location, like move to a new spot, or it implies that one of you is going to have to let go of whatever you're currently doing for financial income, like a job or a career. It's talking about either a move or the end of a career. It is also saying that this is going to be a struggle, whether it's moving or the end of a career or both. It's going to put some strain on the relationship. Basically, this is the card that's going to decide for you if this relationship will last. You're doing everything that you can in the moment to make sure that this relationship lasts. But this strain, this card, this end of old lifestyle and this birth of new lifestyle is going to bring out the true colors in both of you. and then you will get to see whether it's better to stay together or to be separate. So yeah, you guys get to decide. It's up to you and your partner whether you stay in this relationship, because you can go through this. You can go through this moving. You can go through this this end of a career and the start of a new one, and it can put strain on the relationship, and you guys can work through it and grow together and choose to stay in a relationship, or you can allow it to be the end of the relationship. You might decide that being separate is better for your outcome, the future of your career, or he might decide it's better for him that way. But whatever's about to happen here with this move or this end of career, this is going to be the deciding card for you. It will show you whether or not staying or leaving is in your best interest. Sila. I hope that this helps you understand or where the relationship is going. I hope it gives you some sense of surety, reassurance that you are doing what you can be doing in the present to make this relationship last. And I hope it gives you some kind of relief, knowing that it's up to you whether you leave or stay, and that there is going to be a clarifying moment soon. Something is happening right now. Something's changing. Career choice is changing, or living environment is changing, and whatever that triggers in you and your partner will show you whether or not you guys are compatible and whether you're meant to be together. Sila. Okay, having a look to see who's next. Off to Viv. We have Didiki. I want to know, I just got engaged, and if it's the right decision I made or not, and will me and my son be happy, including my fiancé? So Didiki, you're up next for a reading. Just want to have a look and see what the time is, because I've only allocated 2 hours for myself today, and we're at 1.5 hours, so there's a half an hour left, guys. I'm going to get through as many of these readings as I can before time is up. So Didiki, you're up next if you're back in the chat. Don't know if Dalmain is there in the space with Didiki, but you can let her know that it's her turn for a reading. Amazing, you're here. Cool. So your question is twofold. I guess we can ask the pendulum for a clear yes or no answer about whether it was the right decision, and then we can expand on whether or not you and your son will be happy once the fiancé is included into your life. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to ask for a yes or no question, a yes or no answer regarding the decision to get engaged, and then we'll expand on that with the tarot. on behalf of Didaki, was this engagement the correct decision? Okay, so the pendulum is saying yes. Yes, it was the right decision. Pendulum is saying that doing what makes you happy is the right decision. If you have been happy in this relationship and you feel supported in this relationship, then yes, to accept the engagement was the right decision. When the pendulum swings in a clockwise motion like that, it's a yes. When it swings in a left or right motion, then it's a no. But it's doing that clockwise motion, so it's definitely a yes. Now, through my experience with relationships and engagements and marriage and all that, there are always difficulties with the children. There are always moments of jealousy and confusion for the children when there's a new partner in the relationship. So I'm going to ask the tarot question: will your son be happy once your fiancé is included in your life? And what I'm expecting from the tarot is it's going to give you some clarity about what kind of emotional experiences he's going to go through, because he can be happy and he will be happy, but it's going to require some attention and some awareness on behalf of you and your fiancé to make sure that his emotional self stays balanced. How can Didaki ensure a smooth and wholesome experience for her son through this engagement and the coming marriage? Okay, Seven of Swords is your past interval. And this card is saying that in the past you have had all of these different visions of the future. You've seen all these different roads into the future. And when you have the potential for everything, nothing happens. Like when you're looking at all these different outcomes, and while there's still this potential for everything, you don't actually move towards any of them. And this has been something that your son has seen and been through in past relationships that you've been in and out of. It's created this sense of like nothing's ever going to change. These people just keep coming in and out of my life. It's not been healthy or beneficial to his perception of how this relationship game works. But now you have chosen a direction and you're taking steps towards it. So no longer is everything also nothing. Now you have a direction and you're moving towards it. As long as there's all of these things, as I said before, as long as there's all of these different potential outcomes, none of them becomes real. But once you choose one, then you take actions towards it, and steadily it becomes more and more real in your present. So the lack of direction is something that has been there in the past. It's now coming to a close, and it's what's bringing us into the present. So in the present, this card is saying that just be mindful that now with this new relationship that you don't let his schedule fall out of routine, that you don't let him fall out of routine, and to also make sure that you are able to divide your attention in such a way that he doesn't feel like he's being neglected now because the fiancé is in the picture. The Four of Discs talks all about authority, exercising your authority over your physical environment, over your home space, and over your career, setting structure and routine to make sure that you are consistently making efforts towards your physical end goal, the vision of the future that you've chosen and that you're manifesting, to set routine and structure in such a way that every day you're going through certain activities that bring you closer to that outcome. And for him as well, the future that you're creating for your son, to make sure that he is in that routine, that he has a routine set for him and a structure set for him that brings him closer to that it wants to make sure, it wants to encourage you and remind you not to let your new relationship derail his routine or your routine, and to make sure that the new division of attention between your fiance and your son doesn't take away from your son, that there's a balance between the two, that he doesn't feel neglected because there's a new partner in the relationship. Your future interval is number 8 of the trumps. It's called adjustment. It's reversed, and this card, it's talking about how there are going to be shifts in the routine and in the structure. Things are going to have to change in order to create this balance between him, your son, and the partner, your new fiance. And it's going to be difficult. There's going to be an adjustment period where he gets used to the new way of living, the new lifestyle, and you get used to the new lifestyle. And in the interim, there's going to be a little bit of conflict and misunderstanding. And the card wants to just encourage you to be patient through that process and to trust the process, and to not beat yourself up and not feel like you're causing harm. That it's okay for you to find happiness and to find fulfillment in a relationship, and to make these adjustments to the old ways of life in order to incorporate the new ways of life are necessary and healthy, and the pain of the adjustment is natural. To trust that process and to just allow the shift to happen, because that shift is necessary before balance can be obtained in the new division of attention between your son and your new partner. Selah. If you have found some value in this spread, please feel free to send me a donation of your choosing. Any amount is a blessing and helps me a great deal. Thank you so much. You can also like and share and follow on Facebook and across all of my other platforms. Thank you very much, and you are most welcome. I'm sure that I will see you again, and I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing the growth and hearing about what's changed and what's new since the last time we did a reading. So we have Herman Sani on Facebook who has joined the chat. Welcome. Asking what my marriage future, when will I get reunion with my husband? When will he take me back home? Current, he left me. Okay, so I've still got quite a few readings lined up, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through all of them before my time expires, as I only allocated 2 hours for myself today. Okay, we've still got 25 minutes. So after data key, we have Dalmain Borman. Am I going to prosper in my job? Welcome to the Southern Witch on Twitch who has joined us. How to join the queue. Basically what you do is you ask the question that you want me to answer with the tarot, and I answer it in the order that the questions appear in the chat on my end. Since I'm streaming to YouTube, Twitch and Facebook simultaneously, I don't have a queue on Twitch because it would create a conflict between the other channels. So just go ahead and ask a question, and I'm sure I'll have time to get to it today, as I'm seeing now that I've got a reading for Rajni for Dalmain, and then Herman. So there's 3 readings I've still got to do, and then there should be time. But anyway, Dalmain is up next. I said Southern Witch, it's Southern Writer, the Southern Writer. Welcome to Jennifer, who has joined us on Facebook. I will get to your question. We've got 3 readings ahead of you. This one I'm about to do now is for a Dalmain. How can Dalmain ensure prosperity in her current state of employment? Past, present, and future. So, in the past, I've got a 4 of Swords, and it's reversed. So this card is telling me that recently in your job, I don't know if it's the same job or if this is a new job that you've got, but in the workspace, whether it was a previous workspace or the present workspace, you had an idea of what your purpose was in that workspace, and you also have some kind of idea of how to interact with your own intuition. And so you receive a certain amount of authority over yourself and over your environment, your working environment, because of your intuition and because of the understanding you have of your purpose. However, this card is reversed, so it indicates that as you were existing within that authority, it was creating strife or some resistance from the other people who work in the workspace. Your state of authority was making them feel less, making them feel just inadequate in comparison, and this was not beneficial to the overall prosperity of the workplace. But that's in the past. It's something that's coming to a close now, and it's what has brought us into the present. And in the present, I have a 2 of Wands for you, and this 2 of Wands talks about potential for value and abundance where your desires are concerned and your passions. So in the workplace, you have desires, you have a certain outcome and a certain objective, a certain way of existing in the workplace that you desire to see, and you're quite passionate about prosperity and working with others. So in the moment, there is potential for you to receive value and for the workplace to receive value in alignment with your desires. To grab a hold of that potential and that value, you're going to need to have a lot of commitment. You're going to have to commit to yourself and commit to the job and to commit to your employer and to the other people who work in your job, your colleagues, your employer and your colleagues and yourself. You're going to have to make commitments and have endurance to be able to go without recognition, to be able to go without emotional fulfillment, and stay committed to yourself and your employer and your colleagues. As long as you can do that and you can stay committed, you will come out, you will reach the outcome where your desire and the way you wish to see the workplace working with others, the way you wish to see it working in general, the way that structure and routine happens in there. You have a desire and a vision of how you want to see it happening, how you want to see it work. If you can commit to yourself and to your employer and to your colleagues and stay committed even when you're not recognized and even when you're not feeling emotionally full, to be able to stay committed and have endurance through that discomfort, you will see the outcome you're desiring. You will see the abundance and the prosperity that you're looking for in the workspace. And the future interval. The future interval is the 4 of discs. This card, it wants to just give you a little heads up about what's starting now in the workplace, what's affecting the future. You have this outcome you're looking for of prosperity. This wants to inform you that they are busy, your employer is busy setting in, your managers and employers are busy setting in a new structure and a new routine in the way that the workplace functions. New rules or whatever regulations, new systems are being put into place that might feel like they are detrimental to the outcome you're hoping to obtain in the workplace. But it is in the interest of the collective. What they're doing, the changes that they're making, is in the interest of the collective, of the company's goals. The company has its own goals and its own outcomes that it wants to obtain. It has its own mission. And so these structures that they're putting in place now are in the interest of the company. And if you can commit to it, and if you can stay committed to it, like we spoke about in the 2 of Wands here in the present, then you will be recognized for the value that you're adding to the system. Even if it might feel like it's detrimental to the outcome you're hoping for, when the company prospers, you will prosper as well. And if you are beneficial to the prosperity of the company, it will return to you. Even if your employer doesn't recognize you, the universe recognizes you. The universe will recognize the value that you give out and will make sure that that value is returned to you. Even if it doesn't come to you through your salary, even if it doesn't come to you directly through the company, you'll find that the more you sow, the more value of yourself that you sow into the universe, the more the universe sows into you. Selah. I hope that gives you some idea of what's necessary in order to ensure the prosperity that you're looking to manifest for yourself in the workplace. Thank you for joining us. Please feel free to send me a donation if you felt like you received some value from this reading. Please feel free to send some value back to me. Yes, donations are optional, but thank you so much in advance. You're most welcome. And welcome, Elizabeth. Welcome to the chat, Elizabeth on Facebook, Elizabeth Arita. Can you get a message? We've still got 2 readings ahead, and then yes, if there's still time, you can get a reading. No problem. I've only scheduled 2 hours for myself, and we're getting close to the end of that 2 hours. Let me just check who is next in the chat. So Rajni, I see that I went ahead and did Dalmain's reading for her when your question came up earlier in the chat. So Rajni, you are next in line. Elizabeth says, how are you doing? I'm getting better every day. So I've been dealing with some burnout and a bit of a head cold as a result of that burnout, but every day I'm feeling better than the day before. So yeah, like not yesterday, the day before, I woke up with a pounding, ear-splitting headache. And yesterday I had some muscle cramps and I was feeling chilly. Today I don't have those problems, so definitely getting better each day. In Europe you got snow, snow, snow. Please do send some pictures. Here we're in the middle of summer, or summer's just begun. So it's relatively warm, although it's overcast today. The weather has typically been quite warm. Also, we don't really get snow. I mean, sometimes we'll get some frost and water in the taps will freeze in winter, but the snow is always on the hills and the mountains in the background. It's never right here in the valley. Yes, thank you. Nice to know I'm feeling better. I am. Thank you so much. What are Mukesh's current feelings for Rajani? Past interval is the 10 of discs. So the 10 of discs is telling me how you recently received some returns. You invested time and energy and resources into this relationship with Mukesh. This is something he observed and he saw and he was witness to it. And not all of those investments, not all those seeds that you sowed were pure intending. Not all of them were healthy intentions. So when those investments came all the way around and you got the returns for them, not all of it was beneficial to you, not all of it was beneficial to the relationship, and to be honest, this causes Mukesh a little bit of concern. It makes him feel less like he can trust you. It puts strain on his ability to trust you. He wants to trust you, but witnessing you sow negative intentions and then reap them again, it puts a damper on his decision, makes him question whether or not you are trustworthy. It is what has led to the present. So in the present, he is focusing on building his own routine and setting a structure in his physical environment to make sure that he has physical safety and security, and to make sure that his basic necessities are met, that he has enough income to ensure that his basic necessities are met. He's also observing the lack of routine in your life. So this card talks all about authority, exercising your authority regarding your physical environment, your physical security and your financial security. So it's all about setting structures in place and routine, so that every day you're existing in this routine, and that routine, doing it every day, all those activities slowly bring you closer to the physical environment, the physical reality that you want. And he's observing in your life that there's an absence of that. You have this idea of what you want, but there's no structure in place to make sure that that happens for you. And he's trying to insituate that into his own life because he's been aware that it's lacking in his own life. He has tried to put it in place, but he's realized that he slacks on it. And observing the absence of that kind of structure in your life, also it's detrimental to the relationship. It makes him unsure of whether this relationship is truly compatible. It makes him feel like you're going to keep him back, keep him away from the dream that he's trying to create for himself. And it causes him a little bit of concern and uncertainty about whether or not this relationship is healthy for him. 2 of Wands is in your future position. So the 2 of Wands talks about potential. If you can start putting structure in place, if you can identify what kind of financial reality you want to exist in, and you can start putting structure and routine in place to make that happen for yourself, it opens a doorway. It opens up great potential for value and abundance. So 1 is all about desires, and 2 is all about gateways of opportunity. So this is gateways of opportunity towards seeing your desires realized, and that is in relation to the 4 of discs we saw in the present. So it's encouraging you to set structure in your present that will bring you step by step closer to your desire, because there is potential in that, and he can see it too. He wants this relationship to work, and you want this relationship to work, and he can see that you have the potential to have your desires. However, when you're not existing in the structure that's necessary to see those desires realized, it creates uncertainty for him. But if you do put structure in place, you need to commit to yourself and to your outcome, to the desire that you want to see manifested. You need to commit to yourself and commit to your outcome, and you need to have consistency and endurance to see it realized. Because if you keep letting it go, it's all well and good to set routine, but then if you can't stay consistent in your routine and in your structure, then it's just going to be the same cycle repeating itself, and that's what he's concerned about. If he can see you commit, then he can believe in your potential. But if he can't see you commit, he can't believe in your potential, and it makes him unsure, and it makes him not know if he can trust you, and it makes him not sure if this relationship is truly compatible with him. Sela, pausing to contemplate the magnitude of what has been revealed. If you've received some value from this reading, please go ahead and return some value to me in the form of a donation. That would be highly appreciated. It is entirely optional, but it will be highly appreciated. Having a look to see who's next. Welcome to Hernan, who says, is it just in English? Yes, it's just in English. Yeah, English is my home language. I also speak Afrikaans. I'm South African, but yeah, these readings, these streams, all of it's going to be in English. I'm not going to do any Afrikaans streams. Yes. And you're most welcome, Rajani. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure that we will see you again. But next on my list is Herman Saini. What is my marriage future? When will I be reunited with my husband? When will he take me back home? Because currently we're separated. He left me. And then we have a Jennifer Kennedy. Do I have any good news coming to me next week? Thanks for sharing your gift. And then we have Elizabeth Arita. Can I get a message too? I don't think we have time for all of these readings. I'm going to have a look and see how much time we do have. We've got 5 minutes, so I've got time for one more reading. And it is Herman who is next on the list. Next up for a reading. So guys, I only have time for one more reading, and it's going to Harmam Saini on Facebook, who asks, when will she be reunited with her husband? When will he take her back home? Because currently he's left her. I think we're going to start with a pendulum and ask for a yes or no answer from the pendulum, and then expand with the tarot. Okay, so will Harmam's husband reunite with her and take her home? So the pendulum is spinning anti-clockwise, and this is a yes, that reunion is something that is going to happen, and taking you home is something that's going to happen, but the pendulum wants you to ask yourself rhetorically, is that what you want? Is that environment healthy? Is that relationship healthy? Is it growing you? Are you growing him? Or is that relationship toxic? So yes, there is the potential for reunion, and he will take you home, but is that the best decision? Is Harmam's relationship with her husband a healthy one? Past, present, and future. Your past interval is the Four of Swords. So this card is telling me that you have had an idea of what your purpose is in the relationship, and he has an idea of what your purpose is in the relationship, and they're conflicting. He has certain expectations, and you have certain expectations of what marriage is supposed to look like, and they're not compatible. So both of you are trying to enforce this preconceived idea of what marriage is into the relationship, and it's creating disharmony, and it's creating conflict. And that's what has brought you into the present moment. In the present moment, you want to work together, you're trying to work together, but again, there's an inconsistency. You want financial and physical security, and he wants financial and physical security, and both of you need to work together to make this happen, but neither of you are allowing the other one's creative process to have a part to play in that creation of financial security. He's got an attachment to his outcome, and you've got an attachment to your outcome, and so both of you, because of this attachment to your outcome, you exclude the other one's process. So he has a certain way of using his creativity to create security and financial income, and you have this idea of what you need to do in your creative process to create an income, but you're not allowing what he does to benefit you, and he's not allowing what you do to benefit him. So this is creating a conflict. It's preventing the security that you both want from actually becoming real. You both push each other's process away and devalue one another's process. So this doesn't necessarily prevent income from coming into the house, but not in the way that you guys are trying to create together, and this creates resentment and incompatibilities, and it causes arguments, and it's just generally detrimental to the relationship. You got to let go of your attachment to the outcome, and he's got to let go of his attachment to the outcome, and you both got to let go of your preconceived ideas of what marriage looks like. Future interval. So this is suggestions on what you can do now in the present in order to make the future you desire real for yourselves. And this is the Ace of Wands. So the Ace of Wands is about communicating your desires. So speak to him. Reach out to him, even though you're separate at the moment. Reach out to him and speak about what you actually want from the relationship. Even if it conflicts with what he wants, you both need to talk about it. Communicate about what you want from your own life, and ask him to communicate what he wants from his life, and then talk about how your passions can work together so that you're no longer excluding one another from your passions, from your creative process. This card is all about communicating your desires and communicating your intentions, because it's only by putting all that stuff on the table can you guys sift through it and make the shifts that are necessary here in your preconceptions of marriage and in your attachment to result. The shifts that need to happen there are only going to happen once you communicate it all, once you put all the things that are bothering you on the table and put all of your desires on the table and talk about what you're passionate about. Only then will you be able to sift through the stuff and actually work towards the outcome you both want. Selah. Thank you, everyone. That was the last reading that I'm doing for the day. Anyone who wasn't able to get a reading, you guys can catch me again tomorrow. Alternatively, you can also schedule a private reading. You can DM me, you can send me a private message, and we can schedule you a personal private reading. Thank you so much. My time here is up. Enjoy your Saturday, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'll